I tried beating Elden Ring with only mist spells, and if it's the first time you hear about them, it's probably because they suck. They all follow the same rules, they don't scale, so the damage or status build up we do when we first find them or at the very end of the game is the same, no matter our level or emblems or whatever else. They don't move or follow enemies, but just stay in place where you cast them. They all look like a mist of some sort, but that was intuitive, I hope. And if this sounds like an absolute nightmare, then your intuition is on point. It was hell. No class starts with a mist spell, so I chose the one with the most drip, and the obvious first step is trying to get a mist spell. This teleporting scarab drops poison mist, but we can't just kill it with regular attacks since they aren't mist. So I first hoped that the golem over there could take him out, but he can't hit us here. And then I tried luring a couple of enemies to do the job for me, but only some enemies and some attacks can hit everybody, and unfortunately these weren't any of those, so I had to revert to my plan B. That is, luring Commander O'Neill in these rot pools that blow up and damage him. Chat agreed that they kind of look like mist, but it's not like we have another way, and after a couple of minutes the commander falls and we get the broken gold needle. We need this item to do a section of Gauri's quest, nothing too crazy, we just talk to a couple of people, and then we get our first mist spell, Night Maiden's Mist. And here on Margit we can see what the probably weirdest spell in the game does. The damage is fixed, no matter our stuff or level or anything else, and that is about 1600 points, give or take. That is fine now, but absolutely not good enough if you look at the late game boss's health pools. We can charge it for a bigger cloud, that is actually pretty useful, and worst of all, we are not immune to the damage. So if we walk inside it by accident, we get chunked out pretty quickly, because else it would have been too good, I guess. I can't complain yet though, because for now the damage output is pretty damn good, and I just have to goad Margit into walking through it a couple of times to take him out. Now, back to the scarab, and we can get Poison Mist, an incantation that is definitely in the top 3 best mist spells. Well, that's because there's only 4 of them, and one of those doesn't affect any enemy that isn't an online player. But still, we can try our new spell on Godric now, and it poisons him pretty fast, even though it's kind of hard to grasp how much damage it's actually dealing. He stays in place a lot more than Margit, making it easier to damage him. And again, the damage is fixed, so in the early game, Night Maiden is pretty good. Also, we can't cast more than 1 copy of a single mist. The new one will cancel the previous one, but we can have both Night Maiden and Poison at the same time. Okay, I did a long cast, as you can see the mist is a lot bigger. Okay, he's still alive. And this is Godric. Godric falls, and now I want to get 2 more pieces of the puzzle. First, we can go to the academy. I don't have to fight for the key, and while inside, just running is always the best option. But there is a boss fight, and it had me a bit worried, because the wolf has the bad habit of jumping around a lot. Plus his damage is pretty high, and he has some combos that one-hit kill us. I mean, it's still an early game boss, so it's kind of easy. But I did die a couple of times, until he decided that the best approach was to just jump back and forth in the mist 20 times in a row. We take those. Now we can get Radagon's icon, an emblem that makes us cast as fast as possible and is basically mandatory in every spell-based run, right past Francis? And we can now infiltrate the Caria Manor. You might think, Francis, you were in the academy and you had a free talisman slot. Why didn't you get the Graven Mass talisman that improves sorcery damage? And that's because the mist doesn't care about the talisman. The damage remains the same. Yeah, it's horrible. I am here because I want to join Ranni's ranks in order to get the last mist spell. But first, we have to take out Phantom Loretta. She isn't made of flesh, so she can't be poisoned. And she also has the tendency of jumping around a lot. And those would be the introductory words to a hard fight. But like, it's just Loretta. She stands in the mist and she dies. Honestly, what else were you expecting? We can now stand Ranni a bit, so that we can begin Seluvis' quest and learn the Freezing Mist spell. a mist spell that freezes. But it doesn't freeze us, so that's pretty good, and it actually does a lot of freeze build up, so it's definitely usable. Also, it's the third mist spell out of 3 total mist spells, so like our standards are pretty low. Now we can fight Rennala for the second rune, and what is supposed to happen here is we hit 3 scholars, they drop the spell they're casting, the boss falls down, and we can hit her. But Night Maiden's Mist is a very weird spell, and for some reason it does hit the scholars and stagger them, but they just pass to someone else the golden bubble spell like they were never hit. Does it not work? No. Okay, no, I'm not sure what happened. Wait, we are hitting her before the thing breaks? And yeah, in another weird discovery, we can hit her through the bubble. As far as I'm aware, it's the only attack in the game that is able to do it. Hey, if you're watching this and you didn't know that, you can subscribe to the channel. But in another weird discovery, she can't die while in the bubble, even if she's at 0 HP. But as you probably figured, in another weird discovery, freeze actually does work in order to break the scholar's spell, so that's enough to bring us to phase 2. Hopefully, no more discoveries in this video. You might be wondering why so much of this video is scripted narrator voice instead of just me talking about what's happening live. And that's because with these spells, the fights are so long. Like, even this one, that went, I would say, pretty damn well since it was a first try, took minutes to complete. That I know doesn't sound that bad, but it's a lot longer than the average fight. Plus, there isn't much I can say live about them. Yeah, here we cast the mist, and then we try to make them walk into it. It works for the first 2 mists, but it gets kind of boring when you need 15 per fight. With Rennala's death, we have the second great rune, so we can now enter the capital if we can take out the sentinel, that is. Now, here with the sentinel, what we can do, as you can probably imagine, I shouldn't have jumped. Okay, if I jump, I get aggroed. As I was saying, if we just walk around without jumping to the edge here of his arena, we can sneak through and get behind the sentinel. Once we do this, it's just a matter of casting poison and wasting some time, since the sentinel won't react to it and just stand there. I'm going to try and see if freezing works. This might actually aggro. But he is clearly inside the freeze. Okay, he wasn't aggroed. Okay, so yeah, instead of actually just using the poison mist that takes ages, we can use freezing mist. Okay, that still takes ages, but whatever. It is scary, by the way. We got close. No, let's not get scared. I mean, I already am scared. Let's not get too scared. He's buffing himself. Okay, this only hit the horse. We can run away though. And he shouldn't be able to aggro on us when he's here, when we're here. He will mind his own business. He will go back. And we can sneak again, I hope. And then, like, he dies. And again, yeah, I don't really see why we shouldn't be able to sneak in again. Okay, and he's dead. And let's see how hard God 3 actually is. Because it's the first non-early game boss. Yeah, we aren't dealing a... Okay, I mean, I have to dodge attacks. Okay, no, wait. We are dealing a lot of damage, actually. And he is one of the boss fights that can decide to just walk around for a while. Sometimes he jumps and throws his axe at us. But if we can get him to just walk... Yeah, he gets basically deleted. We can just do this? Huh. Like, the damage isn't great, obviously. But, like, if we can just force him to walk inside it, it's great. The problem in a fight is not how many times you have to cast, is how many attacks you have to dodge while casting. If you have to dodge 10 attacks the whole fight, it's not a problem. And I think this might be it. Fast cast, and it's over. GG. A lot easier than I envisioned. Now we have to fight Morgoth, but since he's one of the most aggressive and mobile bosses in the game, and like at this point it's clear that if they even just move to the side a bit, that counters our whole strategy, we want to get some special item just for him, and that involves trying to damage Patches while being sure to not kill Patches. You can still get the item if you kill Patches, but I would feel bad about it. That done, we get the Shackle that stuns Morgoth for a couple of seconds. It's not much, but it's 3 damage. I'm trying to be like a lot more liberal with spellcasts now. So I'm basically spamming them to see if it's like a better approach. Okay, that's what I wanted to do. We got it in the process. That's a mistake. I double casted it, not really sure why. Easy inside the freeze. Yeah, it was. Okay, cool. See, if it just decides to hang out, the fight is easy. Okay. Some distance. This is cool. Freeze, mist, cast everything basically. And ideally he gets close, he gets frozen, misted, Night Maiden, the whole package. Some distance. Double cast. He will decide to get closer. Probably. Okay, he's inside it. Just stand inside it, Morgoth. Ooh, dead by frost. Oof. I was super scared. I think I would have died there. The difficulty curve in this challenge is like the fire giant. Goes straight up, and it makes me hate my life. And even if I started the fight really hopeful, thinking that maybe the mist hits both legs, so it deals double damage, or that since he's really big it's going to be easy to deal damage, everything about this boss goes against us. His HP is humongous, so it takes ages to drain it all. He does not take increased damage if we hit the ankle, and the mist does not tick for every body part. So, basically, it deals 1600 points of damage no matter what. And since he has 42,000 health points, that would be 27 casts, or more than 7 full minutes of him spending time in the mist. And I mean, this is if he would just stand still and take it. Instead, he keeps on rolling around, and even if he just walks forward, he quickly gets out of the mist. So I thought about the freezing mist that deals percentage-based damage, but his resistance to it is really high, meaning that we need 2 almost full casts to freeze once, and the freeze only does 7% of his total HP, so it's not worth it. Plus, he has the disrespect of trying to kill us while the fight is going on, and he's pretty good at that. In short, I got bodied for 2 hours straight. I managed to have an almost consistent phase 1, meaning that every 10 tries or so we got to phase 2 once. And even though I thought it should be easier, since he should be less mobile, he still rolls around like crazy and now can punish our casts real easily. So before having a mental breakdown, I had to call for help. Yeah, I know it's not really honorable, but there is nothing in the rules that says a giant pot can't play in a mist-only run. At least now there isn't. Plus we have to fight Radahn first, but at this point I'm not holding back anymore, so I employed a warfare tactic that works since 5000 BC. I stood on a big rock and hit him where he can't reach me. It wasn't really a perfect strategy, got slowed down here and there. Help? But in the end, it worked out. We can now talk to Big Man Alexander and convince him to fight for us against the giant. Also, I heard he's full of mist inside, so the run is still live. It's still not an automatic window, because he's kinda dumb, and if we summon him too early, he just dies before being able to do anything. So we have to fight phase 1 properly. And I found out that we want to be at a specific distance from the giant. Too far away or too close, and he uses ranged attacks or rolls to reposition. But if our spacing is perfect, he just uses melee attacks. We have enough time to cast between them, and we have to flawlessly dodge all of them for a while. It's much better than any other option. After we feel like we did enough damage and luck is on our side, we can go and summon Alex, and now we just pray. since he can be the dumbest NPC in the game. Like, he can decide to just walk in the wrong direction, stand still for a couple of minutes, he forgets how to climb down a cliff. But hey, he has a big heart, let's just focus on the positives. And I know I'm explaining how I did it, but please, for the love of Gwyn, don't try and do this, it's not worth it, it's almost self-harm, and it's going to get worse. Come on, Alexander, we are all on your side, don't die on me, don't die on me. He died on me? That was a risky call, I'm aware. Oh, Frost! Easy! This video is dedicated to the brave Iron Chad Alexander warriors of the world. My brain is too mush at this point to think of a Melina joke, so I just beelined for the Godskin duo. I wanted to get cheeky with it, since the duo scares me every time basically, because there's a weapon skill called Mists of Slumber that releases a sleeping mist that ticks all the criteria we want for a spell in this run, only that it isn't a spell, but I thought it was fine. Well, turns out that it just sucks. Yes, they are weak to sleep, and I did manage to proc it once, plus if they're sleeping we can deal damage without waking them up, but the mist deals barely any build-up and lasts for a very short amount of time. The real effectiveness rests in the sleep coating the weapon gets, that I obviously can't use since it's sitting with a sword. But I also realized that just brute forcing my way through with Night Maiden's Mist was pretty effective. Since there's two of them, we can double our damage output if they're both close and in the mist, and keeping at a distance isn't that bad, since they just walk around slowly most of the time while throwing out a fireball or two. The ever-scaring Noble Phase 2 isn't that hard too, since if we get him stuck on a pillar, we can just dish out free damage. Or maybe fighting the giant broke me and everything that isn't straight up torture looks fine now? Who knows? Maybe if there's like a psychiatrist watching this, we could ask them. Fighting one-on-one makes it easier, but we also deal half as much damage. But we also don't have a way to stop them from summoning the other one, so it's not like we have a choice in the matter. We take what's given to us and make the best of it. Or whatever that quote from TW Gandalf was. Now there's Maliketh, and it was one of the fights that scared me the most while planning out the run. His damage is insanely high. He doesn't have many HP, but he keeps on moving and flying around, so dealing damage is probably going to be impossible. Or that's what I thought before fighting him. Turns out he's pretty dumb. So in phase 1 we can cast the mist on one side of the pillar, walk to the other side, and he's so angry at us that he will just relentlessly attack the pillar while getting damaged. But phase 2 is much worse. He flies around and most of his attacks now can easily go through the pillar, so this is going to be horrible. Or does it? Does it chill out? Just walk? Just walk? Just walk around. Just walk around, big man. Don't worry about it. No attacks. Sits. Turns out, he's just a homie, he chills out, and in a fight that would be definitely considered match fixing in any other sport, we can easily take the dub, no problems at all. Gideon the All-Knowing apparently doesn't know how to not be completely outplayed and rendered armless by the thinnest pillar in existence, but unfortunately, after 3 fights with pillars that basically gave us the win, there are no more pillars in the next arenas, and thus no more easy fights. We enter what I want to call the torture chamber part of the run. To put it into perspective, 2 mandatory bosses are left, and I am halfway through the recording. 8 hours passed, 8 hours to go. So get strapped. We are in for a bumpy ride. I'll try to condense all my suffering in a short amount of time, comparatively. Godfrey is first, both in who we have to fight and in Elden Lord number, and it looks fine? The damage is absolutely horrible, with him standing at a mighty 22,000 HP, but at this point we are used to it. Thankfully, he likes to chill out, and will spend most of the fight just walking around, with the occasional dash and stomp that we can dodge, so it's looking pretty good, until he loses 25% HP. Then he goes into a charged state, where he's foaming at the mouth and he won't spend even a second standing still. If he's not swinging, he's dashing dashing, and now his stomps cover the whole arena. So, forget the charge attacks, forget playing for positioning, he's a boss fight meant to be fought at melee range, and Marika be damned, he will try to get at melee range. Since the mist damages us, we can't do that, and we could try and use the freezing mist, since we can fight in that one, but it takes way too long to proc, and it doesn't deal much damage. He also figured out how to punish spellcasts, so if we ever do something when we aren't supposed to, we lose half our HP bar, just like that. But, say we get lucky, say we can survive his onslaught while dealing some damage here and there, then we go into phase 2, that is even worse. He becomes unpredictable, he can dash at a moment's notice, and now he's not forced to stomp right after a dash, so we have to react to his decisions every time. Plus his attacks are a lot harder to dodge, with delayed swings that catch our rolls, explosions, and the occasional jumping grab that removes 70% of our HP. So yeah, I got bodied. And since this isn't even the hardest fight, I caved in and listened to my inner voices. There's only one person that can do the job better than me. Me. Since we already beat Radan, we can just jump down the hole and fight the Mimic, that is apparently smart enough to get staggered out of a shield block by some mist? I'm not sure that's how it's supposed to work. And that's not really comforting, considering we are here to hire that very same Mimic. And I know some of you are going to be against this, but look at what happens when I summon it. That is undeniably mist coming out of the TR. So this is allowed. Plus the Mimic can only use mist spells, so it's still damage done by mist spells. Plus I was almost losing my mind when I decided to do this. Plus, you made it this far, might as well wait and see how the video ends. Now that we have the Mimic, it's not like it's over though, because the moment we summon it, the fight becomes pure chaos. The boss aggroes on whoever dealt damage to it last, and the mist does count towards that, so it will keep on dashing and jumping around the arena, making him super aggressive, and sometimes he will even change target mid-swing, just to keep us on our toes. Night Maiden's Mist, as always, works weirdly, in that we damage the Mimic if it stands in our mist, but we don't take damage from its mist, no idea why, and we encounter the first real-life mist problem. It's hard to see through it. And I know it sounds silly at best, but with a boss that can stomp from the other side of the arena and hit us, that's actually relevant. Still silly though, I guess. Okay, so now we have 4 phases of the fight, and a Mimic that can survive one of those at best. So we begin against normal Godfrey Uncharged, and it's the easiest one. We can just stay at a distance and wait for him to slowly walk into the mist. Only a scrub would get hit there. Yeah. Then he charges up, and I figured out how his AI thinks now. If we are far away, dash and stomp until we are at melee range. If we are at melee range, stomp because it's a good move. But sometimes he glitches out and decides to do a different move, ideally a really slow one, and that's where we can drop a mist on the ground and resume dodging the stomps. After a while he will have done 3 slow attacks, and he rips his shirt off, the international sign for starting to fuck shit up. And we don't want to be inferior to him, so we summon the Mimic. Now, you may notice a little problem in our strategy, and that is, at this point I have no more heals. Plus the Mimic will be constantly grabbed, and while that happens, Godfrey is immune to damage. We can still get something out of it though, because if we cast on top of him, he will take a couple of ticks while getting up after the grab, and in this fight the Mimic is a glorified punching bag anyway, it won't really do any damage, so we don't care if it gets hit. After enough damage is dealt, he charges up, and now it's complete chaos. Most of his attacks will send a shockwave through the whole arena, so we have to always keep an eye on him. But we will still get hit by some of them if we want to cast. They are so fast that we can't really play around them. There are two options now. Either he's targeting the mimic, in that case we use the mist on him and hope he stays inside it, or he's targeting us, and in that case we just run away. Turns out that he can chase us really well, but he can't really hit us while running, since he has to come to a complete stop in order to attack. Well, I mean kind of, he can jump and stuff, but they are all pretty slow attacks that you can dodge easily. Eventually, he will decide to focus the mimic again, but he will manage to take it out sooner or later, probably because of the stomps that the mimic can't figure out how to dodge. Honestly, I get it. When that happens, we lost most of our damage potential, and we just ran away. Between the two of us, I thought he was going to be the one closer to the Joestar bloodline. Randomly, he will decide to scream and jump up in the air, blowing everything up. My same reaction when I play PvP against someone that never engages. And when that happens, we can dodge, run away, and cast, for like 400 points of damage if it goes exceptionally well. But now we have a mist down, so if we are lucky and or skilled, we can force him to walk into it a couple more times, and like, eventually either we run out of focus or he runs out of HP. This time it was the latter. Here, in the mist, Whoa! Now only the last boss remains, and I usually skim over it since it's close to the end of the video, but this time it is the last challenge we have and the toughest one at that, but I'll still try and go fast. So, let's ignore the 5 hours of tries that brought me closer to God and just watch the final one. At that point, I was spent, I couldn't handle it anymore, and I decided that this was going to be the last try, whether I could make it or not. The fight is two phases. First we have to fight Radagon, that has 13,000 HP, and then the fish, that has 22,000, so it sucks already, right out of the gate. If we are more than 2 steps away from Radagon, he will dash at us or he will use a ranged attack, both things we don't want to happen. So, the ideal situation is we have a mist down and we walk in circles dodging his swings, while being on the edge of the mist so that he takes damage, but we don't. If we stand too far, he gets away. If we stand too close, we don't really have problems with his moveset, but it's going to be hard to lure him into the mist. This sounds easy, but the really hard part is to get the mist down, because most of the time he will instantly retaliate with some projectiles we can't dodge or dash around so the mist is out of position. Plus his attacks have a bunch of delays between them and various explosions with different sizes and timings. So it's tough to do, and it's also the easier part of the fight. Say you have done this for 5 hours, so you are barely decent at this, and you got lucky so you decided to just stand around while taking damage. He does that from time to time, and you get him to about half HP. Now he's significantly more aggressive and he has 2 new attacks, one that we love and we hope he does all the time, one that we despise. I'll let you figure out which is which. He can do 3 slow and really telegraphed smashes on the ground that send out a shockwave and that have a significant gap between 2 and 3, so we can cast the mist in between them and still dodge. Or he can do a literally unpredictable teleport that makes him invulnerable when it happens. He can spam and chain together how many times he wants and has a huge explosion that staggers us. The teleport completely warps our strategy. We can't stand close to him anymore, and we just have to run as far away as possible. And when that happens, he sometimes decides to not chase us. If that's the case, we manually aim a mist for max range and hope he stays inside it. We do have freeze with us that does affect him, but since it's percentage based and he doesn't have that many HP, I don't think it's worth it to spam, since we usually have time to cast only one spell before we have to get back to dodging. The fight is a marathon more than a sprint, so we have all the HP regenerations items we can find, and we aren't really playing fair, since we also have consumables that heal us and consumables that slowly let us regain focus. They aren't fair because if we use them and we die, we don't really have a way to get them back. But I don't want to think about what happens in that situation. I can just close the game forever. We are lucky enough to see Radagon die with 2 healing flasks left, so we summon the Mimic because no way I'm doing this alone, and we ready our best hats because we are going fishing now. At the beginning we have some free damage since it always starts with a fire breath, and then it has a set of kind of slow but very powerful attacks. Arguably this is the easy part, because big fish is in fact big, so if we manage to cast, it's probably going to stay inside the mist, but the nerves might get to me and might get to you if you try, and like, please don't. Since it's such a rare event, it's not a matter of how hard the fight is anymore. It doesn't have too many hard to dodge attacks. It's a matter of if I can keep my cool long enough to survive. So I'll try my best to condense my emotions in this 27-minute long fight. Attack? But no, it's not on the Mimic, it's on me. Oh, we did dodge it. Okay, this is the jump attack that killed us last time. We have to run at an angle, I guess. Also, can the Mimic stop using the freezing mist? Okay, it's in the mist at least. Change the target. That's nasty. Halfway through the beast. What was... Ah, that's a grab attack. It's fine. The Mimic is dead. Oh, 7. I believe at this point we probably have enough focus, but like, who knows? Okay, we did dodge the grab. That was scary. That was scary. Stay in the mist. Stay in the mist. Okay, run away. It's in the mist. Just avoid the damage. Just avoid the damage. Okay, full mist. That's fantastic, obviously. Cast. Can mash dodge, I know that. Ooh. Okay. Do some useless attack now. Kind of. It's not in the mist though. It's the head is in the mist. That's fun. Big slam. Big miss. Heal. Who cares? Can cast. You might think like, Francis, that's really scary. Why did you cast there? Because I know I can. And I also know that the beast is dead. We also went for Malenia after, but the fight was really boring, so I didn't include it.